The days go in and out, on and further out. Quietness I always find.
Brodie was a young 19-year-old. She was a beautiful young girl. She was full of life, full of compassion for others. She got herself a part-time job and was moving out of home to live in her own little unit and start a whole new adventure. She was so excited at the time, but sadly the workplace for Brodie turned out to be a very toxic environment. There was a bullying culture in place. There was no structures or anything like that to protect Brodie or anyone else in that fact. And so for months and months she endured relentless bullying and humiliation.
Today, workplace bullying is widespread. It affects all race and genders, regardless of organisational hierarchy or industry. It's a largely hidden problem which makes it a difficult issue for organisations to identify, manage and eradicate. Gary Name, co-founder of the Workplace Bullying and Trauma Institute, suggests that workplace bullying is a form of violence, more specifically, psychological violence, and must be treated as such to avoid costly commission claims, tainted reputations of organisations. There is much debate surrounding the formal definition of workplace bullying and no clear consensus of how it can or should be measured. The International Labour Organization describes workplace bullying as a form of psychological violence that constitutes persistent, offensive and unreasonable behaviour through vindictive, cruel, malicious or humiliating attempts to undermine an individual or group of employees. The Fair Work Act 2009 outlines that management actions undertaken in a reasonable manner are not acts of workplace bullying. These actions could include non-aggressive conflicts, managing underperformance, setting performance goals, enforcing standards, and informing about unsatisfactory work performance or inappropriate behaviour in the workplace. German psychiatrist Heinz Lehmann was the first to study the impacts of workplace bullying and is commonly recognised as the founder of the anti-bullying movement. Heinz suggested that traumatisation can result from sustained psychological terrorism in the workplace and referred to this experience as mobbing. The presence of workplace bullying was widespread long before it was understood. It was arguably Heinz's initial findings that put workplace bullying into the spotlight. In January 2014, Australia enacted legislation to extend the Fair Work Act 2009 and made bullying conduct illegal in the workplace. The legislation was implemented following a 2012 inquiry into workplace bullying by the House of Representatives Standing Committee on Education and Employment.
Although we've covered a number of potential definitions for workplace bullying, the question of why it occurs still remains. According to the 2013-14 Fair Work Commission Annual Report, workplace bullying complaints in Australia are on the rise, and bullying is affecting not only the intended target, but the economy as a whole. A report published by Safe Work Australia found that workplace mental stress costs Australian businesses more than $10 billion per year in workplace compensation, sick leave, and replacement staff. What's more, recent data has shown that trauma from workplace bullying now makes up the largest portion of mental stress-related compensation claims. As a result, it is now more important than ever to understand the underlying causes of workplace bullying and to determine the most valid and reliable ways. While there are many aspects of a person's job environment or working relationships that may influence their decision to bully, research has shown that bullying is commonly the result of inefficient coping with frustration or insecurity at work. Possible catalysts of workplace bullying include differences in power and position, low self-esteem or feelings of inadequacy on part of the bully, perceived physical, cultural, or intellectual differences between the bully and the target, perceived threat from the target towards the bully, or impact or influence of organizational culture. Although most organizations are aware of the common risk factors and causes of bullying in the workplace, the personal nature of bullying relationships make them inherently difficult to recognize by management. As a result, bullying will often go unnoticed until the issue is reported. However, there are more proactive methods for identifying potential bullying. These involve looking at the situation from inside perspectives, for example, using interviews, questionnaires, surveys, and other forms of incident self-report. Looking at the situation from outside perspectives, for example, using observation and peer review, and looking at the situation from
the impacts of workplace bullying affect individuals, organisations, and the government. Individual victims can suffer effects including post-traumatic stress disorders, lowered self-esteem, suicidal thoughts, headaches, nausea, social withdrawal, and depression. In extreme cases, individuals can also suffer from a number of stress-related conditions, including stomach ulcers and panic attacks. In June 2013, a survey of 32 to 36-year-old workers was conducted by Safe Work Australia on the relationship between work characteristics, well-being, depression, and workplace bullying. Technical findings revealed that individuals who experience workplace bullying had an increased risk of developing depression and a twofold increase in suicide ideation. Sadly, these were more than just statistics for 19-year-old Brodie Panlock, who tragically took her own life in 2006 after enduring what was described as persistent and vicious bullying at work. Workplace bullying is more common than sexual harassment. It is costly. It does not only impact individuals, but it can also affect bystanders and organisations as a whole. Workplace bullying can have a cascading detrimental effect across whole organisations, crippling productivity and creating a ripple effect of negative culture throughout. Higher employee turnover, increased absenteeism, decreased productivity, tarnished reputations, unfair dismissal claims and the associated costs, which are estimated to be between $17,000 and $24,000 per case, are all consequences. Workplace bullying is also proved to be a huge financial and administrative burden on the Australian government and economy. Damages due to workplace bullying costs the government up to $36 billion. Since implementing anti-bullying laws in 2014, the Fair Work Commission has received over 190,000 inquiries regarding workplace bullying, an increasingly larger amount.
Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Knowing what is right does not mean much unless you do what is right." Relating this quote to workplace bullying, organisations must accept that it is real and its effects are just as damaging as sexual harassment and racial discrimination within the workplace. Through thorough research, this report suggests that workplace bullying is best tackled from within the organisation. Adapted from NAME, organisations can implement a 4-step solution process which aims to effectively identify, control and resolve workplace bullying. Failure to effectively implement these solution processes will have consequential impacts on not only the individual but the organisation as well, resulting in an organisational disruption, inefficient teamwork, high employee turnover and high litigation costs. NAME's 4-step process includes implementing policies, introducing investigation processes, interventions, and general and specialised education. We will now discuss each step of these processes. The first step in the solution process is to implement value-driven policies. The anti-bullying policy needs to be of value to the organisation as a whole, so they must be implemented on a macro-organisational level. This is achievable by collaborating input from various department managers of which the policy would directly affect. Implications occur with the policy implementation when it is not written in a clear and concise manner, resulting in confusion created among employees as the purpose does not line up with the organisational values. Roles and responsibilities of employees, managers and organisation, as well as the procedure to follow, must be clearly identified. The policy must be readily available and easily accessible by all employees. The second step in the solution process involves the investigation into the workplace bullying claims. It is ideal that organisations take an outside perspective when addressing the accusations or claims, meaning the employer must remove themselves from the situation to eliminate any influence or personal bias. The investigation process can be difficult for an employer to perform effectively. Many organisations elect for a third party to conduct their investigations. Although a third-party involvement for each bullying claim or accusation will become costly for the organisation. The third step in the solution process involves restorative interventions into the workplace bullying issues. Both parties must provide a reasonable opportunity to express their views about the situation. This can be done anonymously through employee satisfaction surveys or exit interviews. The result from these interventions can determine whether workplace bullying is occurring and to what extent. If results show that bullying is occurring within the workplace, investigations can be conducted by a third party. The final step in the solution process is education and training, which can be either general education or development of specialised skills. Ongoing, adequate training and education should be provided, allowing employees to proactively recognise the signs of bullying, as well as the required procedures to follow. The education and training does not have to be in-depth, well-detailed. It can be a few slides at an induction course, email reminders and refresher courses. Organisations may find it difficult to upkeep relevant information associated with workplace bullying, such as workplace bullying is a relatively new contemporary issue, with its official introduction being in 1992. Research has been conducted to explore the underlying causes of bullying in the workplace, the effects bullying has on the individual, organisation and the government. Over this time, various techniques to reduce or eliminate workplace bullying causes and effect have been developed. Unfortunately, workplace bullying constitutes for the largest portion of mental stress-related workers' compensation claims within Australia. Although all this research and technique development has occurred, managers still argue the difficulty in recognising the signs of workplace bullying, as well as its risks and consequences involved, costing businesses billions of dollars per year. Employers have an ongoing responsibility to ensure that the work environment is safe, healthy and productive. Going forward, employers and organisations must manage workplace bullying by implementing control mechanisms to prevent bullying from occurring, enacting as a control to minimise the impact of bullying upon the individual, employer and the government. Failure to comply with providing a safe and healthy working environment may result in employers reducing